If you found this video enjoyable, please leave a like and hell, even subscribe if you want to. It only takes 2 clicks, and push that notification bell just to get the messages for my videos. That would be greatly appreciated. What if Okuyasu was smarter? This is a question I oftenly ask myself, coming from the JoJo Veller guidebook I read oftenly for my videos. Quoting from Araki, "It's really strong with no limits to its power. If Okuyasu were smart, he'd be unstoppable." Reading a quote like that, and me being a power scaler because I find it interesting, genuinely gets my mind and gears turning. How strong would Okuyasu be if he wasn't dumb? Technically, Araki does answer that question within the quote, but is there actual feats and statements to actually back this up? And yes, there is. And surprisingly, there's a lot. But what is smart in this case? As I think I need to lay down the groundwork of something like that before we get into kind of the speculative power scaling. I think we can define smart, at least in my opinion in this scenario, as somebody like Jolene or Giorno, in fact. Both of these characters have been able to display either giga-braining their opponents 5 steps ahead or showcasing new ways to use their ability mid-fight. So implying some type of intelligence like that to Okuyasu could prove extremely vital. But even if you have the brains, you need to match it with muscle. So how strong is Okuyasu? I guess just in general, before I give him this, smart intelligence amp. So when it comes to scaling regular the hand in Okuyasu, you're really just basically scaling Josuke and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Josuke and Crazy Diamond are always compared to JoJo and Star Platinum the World. Guidebooks like JoJo 6251, the JoJo Veller, JoJo Go-Go, and even some anime guides always state that either Crazy Diamond is at Star Platinum's level, if not higher, in terms of pure destructive capability and speed. Note about that, these guidebooks could be a little bit wrong, as in the original manga, Josuke states multiple times that Jotaro is definitely stronger than him, so I think what they're saying here is on a hair rage amp, Josuke is actually stronger than Jotaro. And Jotaro should scale around at least on a low ball, small city level to on a high ball, large mountain level in terms of AP, thanks to the Sun feat in part 3. And when it comes to speed, it's been stated multiple times in part 3, and definitely after part 3, that Jotaro's speed with Star Platinum the World should be around massively faster than Light Plus. So Josuke, on a probably good mid ball here, should scale around Jotaro pretty well, and definitely when it comes to speed is massively faster than Light Plus. And Josuke's AP should be somewhere around there, just pick your poison, to be totally honest. Depending on what guidebook you're reading, it could be at the same level as Star Platinum, if not higher. This same Josuke would fight Okuyasu and the hand, and Josuke for a little bit was kind of concerned to fight Okuyasu. The only downside is here, and I quote from Josuke, "A stand that erases space and teleports objects. That could have been really dangerous if this guy wasn't such a dumbass." So this quote here and the actions within their fight do slightly imply that the hand can be relative to Crazy Diamond. The only downside here, of course, is that Okuyasu is written to be an idiot. A stand that can quite literally scrape away the idea/concept of space is hindered by the user not understanding how effective that ability can be. Poor Okuyasu. But there is more scaling to go into, and to Red Hot Chili Peppers. The same Josuke we're talking about would fight Red Hot Chili Peppers, which would kind of show an evenness between the two until the very end, where Josuke straight up says Red Hot Chili Peppers could probably even be stronger than Jotaro, somebody that's already stated to be on Josuke's level, if not higher, yet again depending on what guidebook you read. And when it comes to guidebook statements about Red Hot Chili Peppers, it actually is extremely interesting. If you're reading from JoJo Go-Go, Red Hot Chili Peppers is a stand that is equal to the speed of light, but if you're reading from the JoJo Veller, for example, it straight up says that Jotaro Star Platinum is afraid of this type of stand, implying that it could be stronger than Star Platinum in terms of stats. And even in the original manga, it does also kind of imply this as well. This same Red Hot Chili Peppers would fight Okuyasu, and in this very fight, Okuyasu can be implied to be the winner, and only losing because Okuyasu was, well, under pressure and had to make a split-second decision without really thinking, allowing Red Hot Chili Peppers to get a city level amp to kick Okuyasu's ass. Yet again, failing because he wasn't smart enough. So with both of those fights in play here, I think when it comes to general Okuyasu scaling, you can definitely get him to at least bare minimum massively faster than light speeds to I think a good mid-ball being massively faster than light plus speeds. His durability and stuff like that should all be at least relative to Josuke here, I would confidently say. So on a flat analysis of Okuyasu and the hand, you would think that damn, a stand that can scrape away anything, and with speeds being damn near Josuke's and Jotaro's, would be extremely powerful, right? Then you enter how Araki writes him, and so he just kind of falls flat on his face. Poor guy. And to be a little bit more in depth on how the hand works, what are its powers? The primary one everybody should know if you're watching this video is elimination slash scrape. Very similar to the stand Cream, the hand can remove whatever is in the stand's path from existence according to the user's will, that being Okuyasu. The ability is so busted, in fact, that the hand can technically eliminate something abstract as space itself to get closer to a user if he so chooses. So basically, whatever Okuyasu wills, he can technically, in theory, delete it from existence if it is scraped by the hand. This is backed up even in the JoJo Velar, as Araki straight up says it has no limits to its power, giving it a no limits fallacy. But the only limit being there is quite literally Okuyasu himself, because he is an idiot. On top of the ability to possibly erase anything from existence, he also has a teleportation ability, where due to scraping space, the universe will try to stitch itself back together, meaning an object that was previously somewhere else is now in front of, behind of, or wherever Okuyasu decided to scrape away, giving Okuyasu the ability to quite literally teleport around a battlefield if he were to choose so. Note, it's only for short distances, but the fact that he can still do it is still pretty powerful. So I guess next to his speed feats, you can just probably put teleportation slash infinite speed feat by Okuyasu. So a quick summary here for the people who want to TLDR. Okuyasu is a stand user with speed feats being calced at somewhere near massively faster than light plus, with AP being quite literally limitless, with durability being somewhere near Josuke Higashikata's, with a stand ability to scrape away anything from existence if you were to choose so. Something abstract as space itself is not a limit for Okuyasu, and since he can eliminate space, he now has the ability to instantly teleport anywhere he wants, at least in a very short distance. The only thing holding Okuyasu back is of course his intelligence. So what if I were to uncap it and make it a lot bigger for him? Well, welcome to the Twilight Zone, shit's about to get nutty. Giving Okuyasu anybody's intelligence in JoJo's that is extremely high would make Okuyasu a hyper lethal threat. It puts into question all previous fights he's had. Could he possibly have won against Josuke? Could he have possibly won against Red Hot Chili Peppers if he wanted to? Personally, I would say yes. I would even say he'd actually cream both of them easily. Giving him the ability to teleport instantaneously in a short distance with any higher intelligence than he does have now would be busted as shit. He technically, in theory, doesn't need to actually teleport to you, but you can teleport to him. So he would technically have a really crazy command grab. On top of that, Okuyasu's kind of style of just kind of wanting to scrape a person instantaneously without thinking is now shot out through the door, as now technically Okuyasu can probably come at it with a lot of creative angles to get a person closer to him to scrape them away. It also changes the question from what are the limits to the hand to what can't the hand erase. Thanks to the JoJo Velar and that no limits fallacy statement, thanks to Araki, it genuinely is to be said, what can't it do? In theory, if the hand works by Okuyasu's will, if Okuyasu wills it to be erased, it will be erased. So he technically, in theory, could, I don't know, eliminate time. Space is already to be said. Gravity maybe, possibly even fate if it has like a physical form in JoJo, which sometimes it does, possibly even calamity. And while I know I am spitballing ideas here or just kind of giving you guys kind of ideas to feed upon in the comment section, it's to be said, it doesn't have a limit, so I don't know where it could go. It could quite literally do anything it wants in terms of erasing something from existence. So like I said previously, the hand with a smarter Okuyasu becomes hyper lethal. I would even argue that we would possibly see things unseen with the hand thanks to this smarter Okuyasu. But then I guess that begs the question, what were to happen if we were to place this hypothetical Okuyasu in a modern JoJo power scaling landscape with stands like GR, Satomet Go Beyond, Wonder Review, and Calamity. There are technically two ways you can debate this. Either one, a more logical viewing of it, or two, playing Araki's advocate. By playing Araki's advocate here, a stand like the hand could quite literally delete D4C Love Train's light barriers because the hand has no limit, and saying that the light barrier would be a limit to Okuyasu wouldn't make any sense. It has a no limits fallacy, so it completely creams D4C Love Train. A stand like Tuss Act 4 shooting an infinite bullet wouldn't work here, as it should in theory be able to delete that bullet and infinity because it has no limits. It should be able to at least keep up with the speeds of Made in Heaven thanks to its teleportation ability and of course, the elimination ability of the hand. Now entering the quote-unquote strongest stands in the franchise, that being GR, Wonder Review, and Soft and Wet Go Beyond. In theory, if Okuyasu were to erase anything, GR can't reset it because it doesn't exist anymore. So basically the same argument for Soft and Wet Go Beyond if you've seen my video on that. As an action needs to fully play out for GR to reset it. And if it doesn't exist anymore, GR is going to have a problem with that. And the hand should be able to delete any Calamity and Final Form Wonder Review with the hand because it has a no limits fallacy, so something like Calamity and Wonder Review can be deleted by him. Entering Soft and Wet Go Beyond, which is a very confusing matchup because it's something that doesn't exist, fighting Okuyasu, which can erase anything with its no limit fallacy. So now it's just a really big old cluster mess of info and just wondering how things would go down. So in theory, Araki is correct. It would basically be unstoppable, playing his advocate in this argument. But a more reasonable take, or I guess a more logical take here would be, technically since Okuyasu doesn't have the stats to fight these guys, he would be at least a very extremely difficult fight for all of them, but in some matchups would be able to beat them. The only ones that he definitely loses, and I can confidently say that, would be ones that he just isn't faster than, as a lot of the higher tier stands are more casually infinite to immeasurable speeds. But remember, I would still like to emphasize he'd be a very difficult stand user to beat. And remember, that's on the assumption he doesn't have anything new. So to answer the what if, or the question I posed in the beginning of this video, how strong would he be, or what would an Okuyasu with a higher intelligence look like, or even fight like? He'd be busted. He'd be hyper lethal. He would be probably one of the strongest stands in the series, pretty confidently in my opinion. On a reasonable estimate, I'd place him somewhere above Tuss Act 4, but on an Araki's advocate argument, I'd place him at least number 2 or number 1. So yeah, ridiculously overpowered. So that's going to be the end of the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, stay hydrated. See you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen.